Welcome, listeners. How are you? This is Amy Melissen here, along with Lee Stivers. Welcome to an exclusive uh, tea or coffee chat from across the world with both of us about our upcoming album. Lee and I were in a band 10 years ago-ish.
More than that.
Yeah. Was it really? Oh,
It
okay.
was.
All
It
right.
was like 13 or
Oh,
14
God.
years ago.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, all right. So 5 years ago, Lee and I were in a band called Amy M and the Coattail Riders, along with our esteemed colleague Peter Wright, and we wrote and performed. I wrote some songs, but we performed many of the songs that are included on this album, and that's how this all started. I mean, really, it all started at a little open mic in Washington, PA, which is my favorite story to tell. And Lee, if you want to tell this story, I'd love to hear your version of it.
Well, I went to an open mic and I saw this beautiful woman up on stage singing this song called Lost a Mandolin. And I had recently taken up playing the mandolin, starting to learn how to play. And and after she came down, I went over to find her and I held up my mandolin. I said, "Here I am. I'm not lost anymore."
Yeah,
And we got
scooped her right
together and
up.
started, yeah, we just got together and started doing some music, and you learned some, kind of what my musical background was, the kind of bluegrass and old time Appalachian kinds of stuff. And we started playing together, and yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how I remember it too. I remember living in Washington, Washpa, as I lovingly call it, and wanting to play out more. I had been playing guitar for about 5 years then, actual 5 years, and was gaining the confidence to perform out. I had performed out a little bit before I moved out to Western PA, but couldn't find spaces out in the suburbs where I could play. And lo and behold, this little open mic was at a coffee shop at the time, and I went there and performed, one of the very few songs that I had at that time that were ready to perform. And then, after meeting you, you kind of broke my whole musical world open. Up until then, I had really only listened to alternative rock, pop punk, and I wanted to write music, but really could only come up with like the saddest, folky, Jewel inspired music. And you introduced me to true folk, to Gillian Welch, who is a
Hmm.
huge influence in my life, in my musical writings. I mean, what I listen to on a weekly basis, um, and then also blues music. And that
Hmm.
came about through Augusta Heritage. So I remember one of the first rehearsals we had in my little shotgun shack of a house in the West End of Washington. I remember cleaning like crazy before you came over and being very nervous about meeting with you and performing, not knowing what to expect, but very excited about the prospects.
Hmm.
And, halfway through that rehearsal, you're like, you have to go to this with me. And at
Yeah.
that time, I couldn't afford it, and it's
Right.
honestly, Augusta Heritage is a steal. For those of you watching,
Hmm.
it's a week long, every summer there's a week dedicated to different genres of music. At that time, there was Swing Week, there's Blues Week, there's Bluegrass Week. I think the first time we went to Blues Week, maybe it was Bluegrass Week.
Probably we both went to blues first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you take classes with other adults all day long, and then you jam into the wee hours of the night what you learned, and what an incredible experience that was for me. And
Hmm.
I'm very glad that I got the opportunity. And you can't just, go once. How many times did you go? How many years did you go?
Oh, I think I went 14 times. Now
Whoa.
two of the so I should be a whole lot better than I am. Two of those times, two of those times were during COVID and they were online. But I
Yes.
think went in person for 12 years, pretty evenly split between bluegrass and blues weeks.
Yep.
So I had a lot of instructors, but I need to say that, sometime in this period too, you're talking about me opening up your musical world. You sort of opened up my world because you were playing at that open mic that Peter Wright ran at
Yeah.
at Joe's Art in California, Pennsylvania, and of course you introduced me to Peter, and he and I became a couple and got married, and he went with us to those camps. I think he was there every year that you were there.
Yeah,
Um, so
definitely.
so and that's kind of where our band Amy and the Coattail Riders uh, came out
Yeah.
came from.
Yep. Yeah, it was a really beautiful experience.
Hmm.
And I mean, Joe's Arts open mic was so integral to my growth. That's where I met Erica McGrath, one of my best
Hmm.
friends. I'll in the links underneath this video, I'll share a link of her performing with me at Acoustic Cafe, which is a open mic here in Pittsburgh. The, in my opinion, the best open mic that there is on a Monday night for free in the city.
Hmm.
Um, and just last week, her and I performed, and honestly, we blew people away. And it's, cool people hanging out and doing the things that they love. They meet other cool people who are hanging out and doing the things that they love. And then things like this happen. This
Hmm.
has been oh, such a journey, and it all lands us here.
Well, and
Uh,
for me, those Augusta years and performing with you and Peter and, getting involved in community music stuff, the Whiskey Rebellion Festival, the Farmers Market, booking music for them. I started doing some booking bands of my own, got involved in the International Bluegrass Music Association's Leadership Bluegrass program, which I'm still part of their alumni committee and activity. So that just blew open the world for me in music, to be able to make those connections and have those learning opportunities. It's just been phenomenal.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm very glad that you have made all of those connections now that we have an album to release.
So we've been working on this album, unbeknownst to us. We've been working on this album for 16 years, but now we're ready.
But you know what? As a musician, isn't that how it works? Just the other day I gave a quote on a music job where this cute little old lady called me and she was asking about um, just music for her ceremony. And she let me know her budget, and I let her know what my expectations were and explained, quite frankly, like I've put a lot of work into becoming ready to do this on a whim. In 2 months, you want me to learn a song and play that, and that takes a lot of effort. So I'm going to charge what I charge, and if you can't make that happen, I understand, So
Hmm.
with musicians, we are always on the long haul. We are
Hmm.
we are gaining the skills now to be able to do what we're going to do 10, 15, 20 years in the future. So.
Hmm.
All right, so now we need to bring it back from memory lane and talk about how we
Hmm.
got to this specific vein of creating this project. So I think for me, it starts when Gillian Welch and Dave Rawlings came to Pittsburgh, and I immediately bought 4 tickets. I did not care what was in my bank account. I probably spent some of my rent money to do so. And I immediately bought 4 tickets, and I didn't know who I was going to bring, but I knew I was going to bring people that were important to me. And I wound up bringing three of my best friends here in Pittsburgh, and we sat in the nosebleed section and watched Gillian and Dave do their thing, and it was absolutely incredible. And about 3/4 of the way through the album or through the concert, she sang Orphan Girl. And I was uncontrollably sobbing. It was very emotional because that song is our song.
Hmm.
That's the song that started it for us. And that's the song that ends our album. Um, it's when you moved across the country. It's the song that
Hmm.
I, sobbed to to make
Oh.
myself feel better, uh,
Hmm.
thinking that, maybe I might have be losing this friendship now that I know how strong our ties are. I know that would
Hmm.
never happen, but in that moment, I said to myself, life is too short to not sing this with my best friend again. And
Hmm.
the next day I messaged you and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
where in the world are you? I need to be near you."
I got a text.
I didn't care what time it was for you. I said, "Hey, I miss you. I want to see you." Last night I saw Gillian Welch and it made me want to see you. And I immediately booked a trip to Mexico because that's
Hmm.
where in the
Hmm.
world you were. And last
Hmm.
February, last year, I went to Mexico and it was a beautiful trip. I'll share some of the photos on the website, which is something we should mention. Somethingtellsme.net is the website
Hmm.
for the album. Um, and if you want to take it from
Yeah,
there,
so I live in my house here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, 6 months of the year. The other half of the year I'm in Portland, Oregon, and yeah, if Amy said, "Yeah, I want to come down," and that was no problem. I have plenty of room in my house, and we planned this trip, and then it sort of a gig opportunity presented itself to me, and I talked to the venue owner and I said, "My friend who I played with for years is coming down. Can we just do this show ourselves?" "Sure," she said. So we put together a show, put together our repertoire. I'm sure we sang every song that's on this album and that evening. And we didn't have a huge crowd that night, but the people who were there just loved what we were doing, and
Mhm.
they kept saying, "Wow, this is really different. This is really nice to listen to. It's really enjoyable, and it's songs that, some of these we know, but we haven't heard them in so long." And we looked at each other and said, "We need to make a recording. We need to make a recording." And at first we thought, well, we'll just kind of do it on the shoestring, we'll just do a little thing. And I thought about it some more. I thought, no, if we're going to do this, it's worth doing right. So
Yeah.
we put the resources together and hired what turned out to be just an incredibly wonderful collaborator in our audio engineer and assistant producer, Christopher Henry of Noya Mountain Music, to record the album. It was an incredible experience.
Yes. Yeah. I can't say enough about Christopher and how supportive he was and uh, how he shared his home with us while we recorded. We won't get too much
Mhm.
into that because we're going to get to it. We're
Right.
going to get to listening to the album here
Yeah.
soon. Yes, it's happening. But that at least brings you all you viewers up to speed as to why and how this happened, something really special about that performance that I want to share is that I got the opportunity to play Peter Wright's guitar,
Oh, that's
which
right. I have Peter's
when
guitar here in Mexico. Yeah.
Mhm. Which, when he was alive, I didn't do very often. Like he was pretty protective of that guitar.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was very special because obviously, like, I didn't know I was going to be playing a gig. I thought I was just coming to visit you.
Yeah.
And the opportunity of a performance, you don't have to convince me.
Right.
I'm a bit of a
Right.
ham.
You said,
So
you said, "Is there a guitar there?" I said, "Yes." She goes, and you said, "Well, is there a capo too?" I said, I think there's a capo too."
that is a very important thing, though. And I will listen to the capo haters, but I capo, and I am primarily, I've said this my whole life, I'm primarily a vocalist, and I picked up
Mhm.
guitar to accompany myself, and I am perfectly comfortable being at the level that I am
As
as
you should
far
be.
as technicality of guitar. I love doing what I do at the capacity that I do, and I also always have room to grow. And
Mhm.
since I've been playing guitar for so long, it is easier to pick up harder things. Like right now, I love Brandy Carlisle, and the guitarist that she has in her band. very technically skilled. And that's a really great growth opportunity for me. But I will be buried with my capos. Like that is something that will happen and I'm proud of. So okay, well, I'd
Okay.
love to get started listening to some of this music.